am living my best life because I'm using all my gifts to, all I've ever wanted to do was make a difference in the world. And I get to do that every single day.
Magnificence is the boundless expanse of being, a liberation from limitation. It is the embodiment of authenticity, where you shed the shackles of self-doubt, shame, and imposter syndrome. Here, worthiness flourishes like a vibrant garden where you have the power to determine your actions, destinations, and your closest relationships. In the realm of magnificence, creative individuality takes center stage. Your greatness is acknowledged, celebrated, and nurtured. Gone are the days of mindless conformity or fitting in just to keep the peace. This show and your host, Patricia Lindner, are here to guide you as you align with your authentic design, leading the way to a life of purpose and fulfillment. Magnificence is not some unreachable peak or distant dream. It's inside you, waiting to shine brighter than you ever thought possible. Welcome to your magnificence.
Hey, this is Patricia with another episode of Magnificence. And this time I have a conversation with the amazing Carol Walkner, who is a clairvoyant, a medical intuitive, and an energy healer. And we talk about how both of us started more and more trusting our intuition and this inner guidance system, this inner knowingness of whether to turn left or right or take the next step into the next direction, into the next thing we want to achieve without doubting ourselves and just trusting and surrendering to the process. This is such an important topic for all of us, I know, because especially in these days, people do not know where to go, what to do next, and they feel stuck. And lots of people reach out to me and tell me, I feel so stuck. I feel like I do not trust myself anymore. I have lost connection to this inner voice, to this inner guidance system, and I don't know what to do next. And that is exactly why I want to showcase this episode with Carol. And I hope there is something in for you that you can take into your lives and surrender and trust more to the next step, to what your inner knowingness tells you. I love helping my clients with exactly that in different ways, shapes, or forms through processes, because you just can't snip your finger and connect to this inner voice, but there is a way out there to get to the other side. And now I'm really happy to invite you to this episode with Carol Walkner and myself, and enjoy this episode of Magnificence. Hello and welcome to another episode of Magnificence, the one and only empowerment podcast that strikes a match and shines the light on the magnificence of my guests. And today I have with me the one and only and highly magnificent Carol Walkner. Hi and welcome to the show, Carol. I'm so excited to have you.
Thank you, Patricia. I'm just as excited to be here.
It is really great to have you as my conversational partner in this magnificent show, because I want to shine a light on how amazing you are, on everything that you share with the world and that you bring to the table. And before I do that, I would love to make a brief introduction into who you are so that the audience knows who is with me today. And then we go from there and dive deeper into everything magnificent about Carol. Okay, so Carol Walkner is retired from a successful corporate career to totally switch gears and work full-time as an energy healer, a clairvoyant, and a medical intuitive. What that means is what we are going to explore in our conversation. And I totally would love to know how come that most of the people, they feel like, okay, now I'm retired. now I can live the very best life, and I'm just challenging you or maybe just teasing you. Um, you switched gears and you started a new career after um, finishing a successful corporate career. Why the heck did you do that?
It's my purpose in life. And um, I studied energy healing back in the early 80s with this fabulous healer in Minnesota. And I've been clairvoyant and seeing things since I was a child. My sister and I we were both born that way. It's like we're second generation. Our grandparents had those gifts. And I am living my best life because I'm using all my gifts to all I've ever wanted to do was make a difference in the world. And I get to do that every single day, even on Sundays when I connect with friends.
That sounds like really living your very best life. And so, did you leverage those gifts back in the corporate career as well? Or did you do that maybe even before that in your teenage years or as a young adult? Were you highly aware of those gifts, and how did they come into play?
I was not highly aware of them, but I always had a sense of where to go and how to act and how to be. And in the corporate world, I probably wasn't cognizant of using them that often, but I knew exactly who to call on and who would be a good customer and who would not. And I'm sure I did some energy manipulation with some of them so I would get the orders or whatever, in a good way, manipulation. Or balancing just for them to see me for who I was, this trusted person who had their best interest at heart. And I believe that's part of what made me successful and why I was let go from so many corporate jobs because I didn't fit into their little box.
I so much love this last sentence because I totally see, and this is the specialty of this show. We have a look at my guest's human design or gene keys chart, the energetic blueprint, and everything that you say, Carol, makes so much sense. And I want to start with the human design chart. But in today's show, I feel so much drawn to the Gene Keys chart, which is, in my perspective, much more um, feminine, much more intuitive. So maybe some people get me wrong in this. This is just my perception. And I feel the topic of today's conversation is the authentic, intuitive, clairvoyant, standing in her power, which means standing in her authenticity and being who she is. So that is what I would write on top of our conversation. It's all about your authenticity and your creativity and your intuition. That is what at least your chart tells me about you. And so, if you allow me, I would love to share your human design, where you turn out to be a manifester, a highly intuitive manifester. Those are the mavericks among the types of human design. Because, and this makes so much sense with what you said, manifestors are not here to be rule followers. Rules are not your friends. Um, so so it makes a lot of sense that you are a manifestor, here to initiate things, here to really be a bushwhacker, someone who is a visionary and moves forward. And as you see, not just that, this turns out in many ways because your profile says role model hermit, which is a wonderful combination of really embodying and leading just by being who you are in your full authenticity. And also, as the second line, having some me time, some time where you can withdraw. And I just think about all of your chart aspects, withdraw maybe into nature, to a place where you find your peace and quiet, and then you can come out again and initiate and show up as this amazing, amazing role model you are. And this is just the first part of what I wanted to share. Do you resonate with this description of what I shared about your human design?
Yes, absolutely. And I call myself the great connector because I'm a networker, and wherever I've lived all over the US, and I've always had a large friend group and a large network of business people and just some allies, and forever. They just last for 20, 30, 40 years. So it totally makes sense. And the hermit part of me, um, my teenage years were a little bit rocky, and try, trying to discover who I was and not really knowing. So I spent a lot of time reading up in a tree. So Mother Nature and me are definitely connected.
Yeah, I love that. And also, um, um, that you said that you have built a big circle of friends. And I bet these are people that really clicked with you, because as a manifester, you either attract people because they know that you are their person, and then it is really like magnetic, or it is like, no, who is this person? I don't want to be in her space. And then that's fine for a manifester. Manifestors just need to stand in their power and self-confidence. It's not personal. It's just
Right.
that they are not your people.
Yes.
Yeah.
Yes.
Yeah. And so I would love to know, as you said, yeah, you totally switched gears into this career of being an energy healer or a clairvoyant or medical intuitive. Um, because there are people out there that say, oh, yeah, this is the woo stuff, and I don't believe in that. And what is this maybe inner wisdom about, or this knowledge or knowingness, or you may call it in a different way, that you trust what you see, hear, sense? I don't know. Can you tell about this, especially the clairvoyant part? I think that is what interests people. How can you be so sure about that?
So I have several stories. And to begin with, the energy healing is about quantum physics. So it's scientific, because what's in motion stays in motion, and what gets stuck feels painful, or emotionally or physically painful in our bodies. So I'm just using physics to get things moving again. So the Reiki and the energy balancing is really very scientific. The clairvoyance is clairvoyance means you see something. I'm also clairaudient, which means I hear things. And I'm clairsentient, which means I feel things in my body. And I when I work with a client, and the clairsentient helps the medical intuitive. So I'll be working with a client, and thank you to COVID, I can work on Zoom or over the phone or whatever. We don't have to be in person anymore. And I tap into their physical energy, their quantum part of themselves. And if I start coughing and feel heaviness in my chest, I go, okay, from my Chinese medical studies, this could be grief, sadness, disappointment. There's something going on in your lungs that's emotional. It's not physical. So, and I would say 99% of the time, right on point. So it's real. I'm not making it up. I can't make it up. So I'll tell you something about the clairvoyant. So I had a brand new client a couple months ago, and one of her questions, we had a nice session, and she said, my dad passed away a couple years ago, and I really miss him. And I'm wondering if he's around or if he has a message for me. So I said, okay, let's see. So we're on Zoom. I'm still in her energy field. So I put an energy feeler or a channel up to that nether world where he's resides, and with the attempt to tap into his deceased energy. So the first thing that comes to me yelling is bananas. And I'm going, okay. So I say to the client, well, I tapped into who I believe your dad's energy is up there. And what I got was bananas. She burst into tears and she goes, oh, that's my dad. That's my dad. When I was 6 years old, he fed me 3 bananas for breakfast because he thought they were healthy. And I was sick all day long. And he felt so bad that he didn't mean to make me sick. So I said, well, he's saying he's sorry again for the banana.
That is so cool.
So it's like I get verification from the client that what I'm saying is true for them. And that was obvious because she goes, whoa, she was surprised.
And I love that you intentionally tap into this energy of her dad. So I really love that part.
And it's people who don't believe in that other world or don't believe that there is a higher power. That's difficult for them. But the energy work as a scientific thing is easy. So, and the medical intuitive, I'll kiddingly say, well, I have X-ray vision, but when I'm in a group, I turn it off. So I'm not really looking inside all your bodies.
Yeah. And so I bet that could be really difficult to really not turn it off and to see things with your, I guess, inner eye or sense when something is wrong. Or just walking down the road in a big city, that could be really overwhelming, couldn't it?
I'm not an empath, and I'm really good at closing myself off so that doesn't happen, because I could get bombarded with all kinds of energies, and that wouldn't serve me or the client. So I'm really pretty good at closing off and not picking up something unless somebody asks me a question, and then I tune right in. It's like, oh, wait a minute, here you go.
Yeah, that sounds so great. It connects me, one, to your gene keys, and two, to something that I feel a bit hesitant about sharing that because I don't offer readings or something like you do, maybe in brackets yet, even though I'm trained in that, and I have this idea that it works well. But what you said about this connection, I didn't do an intentional connection with a deceased father, but I had a client and I tapped into her energy and I saw this big white tiger standing behind her, having the paws on her shoulder. And then, so you totally trust. I so much love that. I was like, can I tell that to her? That is really awkward, a white tiger standing behind her. And then I was like, okay, I tell her. And she burst into tears. And she said, this is my father's energy. This is my father, because he used to call me Tiger when I was a teenager and a young kid. And so she was in her 60s and she was so glad that there was this connection, which I didn't make with intention.
Right. And his energy was probably strong, and she needed to know that he was there. So there's that. It just happens.
And you're right with the energy that is proven, and 99.99999% of everything is energy. So we can't discuss that and we can't say that this is not true. So I think that is scientifically proven. And if there is anyone out there who is not in alignment with that, that's okay as well. That's okay.
It's okay.
Yeah. And I just said this brings me on a direct path to your to your gene keys, which looks a bit complicated. And I do not want to really make some teachings around the gene keys now, but just tap into some certain aspects that I see in this chart and that make you really stand out with this combination of what you have. And you just said, and I wonder because it seems as if you are 100% full of trust and confidence. There is this evolution aspect. The evolution aspect is what you are here to learn. And it goes from oppression that you're weighed down by, especially by thoughts or internal or external factors. When your mind gets so active or overactive, worrying if things will work out. And as soon as you tap into this trust aspect, and you don't let your mind interfere, then you easily, and this is so it is threefold. The oppression is the shadow aspect. Then you easily can use this gift of transmutation, which is all about your creativity, your emotional resilience, your aspect of guiding others in such a confident way. And I just wanted to give you this confirmation that this is the evolution part, what you are here to learn in this lifetime. And I think that fits you really well. I don't know if you ever doubted that this ability is true.
Yes, until it's I would say off and on in my life, I doubted it. And I wasn't always willing to be true to myself and authentic because it was easier sometimes for me to hide my gifts and who I really was. And I can't do that anymore because if I'm hiding who I am, the friends I have are not true. The people who connect with me are not really my people because they don't know me. So I've learned over the years to be yourself. I can tell you another quick funny story about not believing. So this was many years ago, probably, let's see, probably 15, 16 years ago. Um, I was living at the Jersey Shore and we were going to have a party. And I was on my front stoop and I had a bag with 2 bottles of wine in it and a 6-pack of beer. And I had to open the door. So I had to put one of them down. And the voices in my head are screaming, put the beer down. But the beer was in the hand that was awkward. So it's easier for me to put the wine down. I must have stood there for 5 minutes arguing with this voice that was getting louder and louder. Put the beer down. And so I finally said, no, I'm putting the wine down. And I put the wine down and it fell over and broke. So that's why they wanted me to put the beer down because it was in a 6-pack and it wouldn't. Okay.
Yeah.
And I go, okay. Oh, and I had 2 bottles of red wine on the white concrete. And of course, one of them didn't break, but the most expensive one did. And I had to go back to the store. And so I took I know. It's like, okay. So now I'm saying, okay, I got it. I'm not going to, I trust. I'm going to listen to you, especially when they get louder and scream at me.
And I think that is an ability that we all have somewhere, oftentimes really hidden. But I don't know if if this is true. That is just something that comes to my mind, because I feel over the course of time, and that is what I can say just for myself, and maybe you just agree with me or you have another story. This inner voice, this intuition, this is like trusting, even though things seem awkward, like put the beer down, or and I shared that with you. I just recently visited the south of France, and I booked my flight back. And I was a bit sad that I couldn't visit Marseille because of the flight being so close to the time I arrived at the airport. And so I sat there meditating and just saying, oh, that is so sad that I can't see Marseille, because I just wanted to get to know it. And the minute I said that, I got a message on my cell phone that said the flight has been canceled. And so usually I'd really be angry about that cancellation, but I feel the older I grow, the more I trust that this is the right timing. And I was like, hey, I celebrate this cancellation because now I can go to Marseille and have a look at if I like the city, if I don't like it. And that is just the way it is meant to be. So you start trusting the high highs and the low lows. Not that they are amazing, the low lows, and not that everything is really easy. But I can say to myself, it is meant to be that way. I don't know if you agree with that. So I feel whenever we want things to be different, I stopped wanting things to be different. I trust and I surrender. And I could not deal with the word surrender until I think recently. Just surrender to what is, because it is meant to be that way and there is a positive outcome somehow, somewhere. What do you say to that?
I agree with you 100%. The universe has our back. And if we lose a job or if something horrendous happens, it sounds kind of horrible, but it's for a reason. The universe does have our back and is guiding us to where we are supposed to end up and who we are supposed to be. And we each have a purpose. And when we live in that purpose and live the purpose, we can be filled with joy. When we're sideways from that purpose or saying, no, I want to go over here and do this, or I'm supposed to do this, and it doesn't work, and it doesn't work, and it doesn't work. There's a reason it doesn't work, because you're not supposed to be over there. You're supposed to be over here doing this.
Yeah. And it is easy to say, just from our conversation, and someone who listens might think, they don't know what's going on for me. But so my experience tells me, and maybe yours as well, there is something in this experience that will turn out exactly the way that makes things better.
When I lost my job in New Jersey years ago in corporate America and found one here in Cincinnati, that's how I came to Cincinnati the first time. So yes, losing a job because I had a house and a son in college and I was a single mom and it was tough. And I was supposed to move out of Jersey for whatever reason. And I'm back here in Cincinnati and I have a lovely life and many friends and just filled with happiness and joy. And I never would have chosen this place had I not been pushed by the universe to be here over and over again. And may I tell a funny story of how I came back here? Same thing. So I'm keep going back to Jersey because that's where I come from. But so I was in Jersey, and in 2014, I had a good life and it was okay. It wasn't spectacular. And every year I choose a word for the year to push me along to something to live up to. So in 2014, my year was freedom. Be careful what you ask for. So I left a long-term, nice relationship with a partner and put all my stuff in all my furniture, everything, my belongings in storage, and drove from New York to California. And I was in my 60s, not having a clue what was going to happen, where I was going to live, what I was going to do when I left California. But that's where I was headed. So I was there for 3.5 months. And it's like, okay, I have to go back wherever back is. I have to do something. I was in the middle of writing a book and designing a coaching program. And I had clients in New Jersey, and I felt pushed to be back there. So within a week, my aunt calls me and says, I'm in a nursing home and I'm worried about my house because it's just standing by itself. Are you thinking of coming back to Jersey? And if so, could you live in my house? It's like, oh, okay, I could do that. So I lived in her house from May till December. And in November, my cousin calls me and says, we're putting the house up for sale. So you have to get out December 1st. Okay. So within 2 weeks, a former friend of mine here in Cincinnati calls me and says, my mom goes to Florida every winter. And would you be interested? Are you thinking of coming back to Cincinnati? And if so, if you want to just see if it's for you again, do you want to live in my mom's condo? So
Again, Cincinnati.
So I moved. I had to be out of my aunt's house by December 1st. So I came back to Cincinnati November 30th. And I was there until the middle of March. And I closed on my house here in Cincinnati the middle of March. And she came back a week later.
So one could say that's a coincidence, but I think that is synchronicity and a heart full of trust. Because just leaving New Jersey and crossing the country and going to the West Coast and then trusting that everything falls into place, I think that is that's surrendering, isn't it?
It was trust and faith. I never doubted for 1 second that I was being pushed or nudged to, and it was going to be okay, to where it didn't matter what was happening in the moment. I was going to be okay. And I didn't even know where I was going to be or what I was going to do, but I was going to be okay.
Carol, this is a good point. And I think that is, so I oftentimes ask my guests in the end if there is a golden nugget of wisdom. Now, I want to ask you now, because this seems so big that you said, I never doubted that there was anything wrong. How can you do that? Because I think so many people out there would love to do that, but then worry comes into their way. Then they doubt themselves or the situation, they mistrust or they fear, and they go in this low vibrational state of being not aligned with who they really are. How could you trust all the time?
It just felt that there was a purpose to all of this. And I didn't need to know, because I would ask my own guides, what's going to happen? And the answer would be, you're on a need to know basis and you don't need to know.
And you were okay with that?
Yes. And the second thing was, it's okay. I kept getting the message, you're on a path, you're on a track. It's going to be okay. And I ended up in Cincinnati because there was a 7th generation psychic medium here that I was supposed to study with, but I didn't know that. 2 years before that, it was like, so I knew in my gut, in my intuition, I was being guided. So don't question it. Don't worry. You're going to end up where you're supposed to end up, happier than ever. And that's what happened. And the side story is the guy from the moving company that moved me finally from New Jersey to Cincinnati, he wasn't the actual mover, but he set everything up. So he and I had a couple dates, and it's like, no, this isn't going to work. And they yelled, introduce him to Sharon, 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 Sharon. So I introduced him to my girlfriend who lived in New Jersey, who wasn't moving. That was in 2016. They've been together ever since. They live together. They adore each other. So that was like the other side story. All these things were supposed to be. She was supposed to end up with him, not me.
I love that. And that is such a big confirmation because I really think I just recently discovered this part of my life that you are talking about. And it makes it much more peaceful. And I feel so much more at ease. I don't need to push things. There is no aspect of severe impatience because it is, and some people are triggered by that. Some people are immensely triggered when I say, okay, well, then that's the way it is. Okay, yeah, I'm okay with that. But it's not that it's all the same to me. But I trust that there is a reason. I trust, and I could tell 100,000 stories where I really succeeded in trusting the moment and what was happening. And again, this makes me go back to your gene keys, maybe for a last time. Here we are. Because so you see, and I think we talked about that you haven't had a look at your gene keys anytime before. So there are different pathways, and the green one that goes down there, and I talked about the evolution. It goes from your life's work to the evolution to what makes you happy and healthy, and to your purpose down there. And so everything that you I am really speechless because everything that you shared is so in tune and in sync with your chart that gives me this confirmation aspect of this is amazing. Because especially when it comes to your purpose, and you were talking about the purpose several times, one can't read that in a perfect way, I guess. But it goes from the shadow aspect of vanity to the gift aspect of discrimination, and then to purity. And when I describe it with my human words and not the very philosophical words or cryptic words that sometimes are inside the teachings, I would say it's all about you being 100% authentic. That is what your purpose is. It's not about what you do. It's not about when you do something and with whom. It's all about you being you 100%. That is your purpose. That is why you are here. And of course, you make an impact with the way you show up. And you make an impact, especially when it comes to this aspect, when you show up full of trust in what your heart wants and not what your mind wants. And this has to do a lot, and I don't know about this aspect, so I ask you, it has to do a lot with creativity and art. Just from what I know about this gene key number 12, it's about creativity, trusting in the creative gift and outlet, and maybe even art. And now I just wonder if there is a secret about you being an artist.
So I'm a weaver and I'm a collage artist. And when I was 18, I told my dad, I want to go into New York City because we live right outside the city and be a painter. And he said, you can do anything in your life, but you can't do that, going to college. So he was right. I wouldn't be here. I'd probably be, laying on the floor of some studio, drugged out or something by now. I don't know, or gone. So, um, and in high school, I made all my own clothes and you couldn't tell. And so, yes, and I've been a weaver most of my life and a poet, and I've written 9 books. So I'm pretty creative.
You are a creative. You are an artist. So, yeah. So fully on purpose. Fully on purpose. And I had this idea that this conversation is really very deep when it comes to this surrendering part. And I think it is for a reason that you are on my show. And maybe this is the message that needs to be out there because one more aspect, and I need to share the chart again because I think so whatever is in one person's chart could really resonate with another person out there listening to our conversation, maybe even if they don't know anything about the gene keys, but just this aspect in your chart triggers the conversation and maybe helps someone with something. And I feel this episode is all about this surrendering aspect, and I want to go here, which is your vocation or the deepest wound. And no worries, I don't want to dive into the depths of your deepest wound, but this is another representation of what we talked about. As you see, the shadow aspect of this deepest wound and vocation, what you really can work with, is impatience, and the gift aspect is patience. And the divine aspect is timelessness. So this deep connection to your inner wisdom, to the guidance, to the intuitive aspects of who you are, and this trust that the timing is divine and right, just makes that blossom. And I feel that patience, and I can switch it off, and that is the message that I wanted to bring across. Patience is all about trust that some higher guidance knows exactly what timing is right. It's this trust that you are guided. And how it feels a bit awkward to say all of these things, but it feels that this needs to be said today, that impatience just is something that brings you off track or off your path and just causes stress and health issues and all of that good stuff. And once you trust in what is going on, life becomes so much more easy.
It's 100%. You're right, and I can give you a quick example too. So, as an energy healer and a life coach and clairvoyant, I have lots of clients, and I'll look at my calendar on Mondays, and most of the time it's blank. There are no appointments, and it's like instead of going uh-oh, and not trusting and getting all stressed, I go, this is great. I can work on my website. I can write this. I can do that. I can clean my office. I can whatever. And I remain open and trusting. And within half a day, the calendar's full. And it's so it's about having the trust even when there's no evidence that you should. It's about having the faith that we are divinely guided. If we lose a job, we're going to get a better one. If we lose something else, something will fill that hole in us. And it's some of it's learning to maneuver and get through things. We never get over stuff. We get through them. And it's more of also realizing, okay, the universe has my back. I'm divinely guided in this situation because now I feel better. Now it's going to be okay. And we all have intuition. We just have to tap into it and listen.
I just have a weird sentence on my mind. That is, it feels as if you are the embodied or personified secret of law of attraction. Because what you said, the calendar is empty. That is amazing. Then you have this high vibration that brings in more of the good. And that is such a great example. It's not like, oh darn, no one wants to see me. You just celebrate every moment, and so you attract more of the good, and your calendar fills, and you have time for yourself, and so everything is good.
And it works. And it's not fake. It's not like you going, oh, okay, I have to do this to bring it in. No, it's from my heart.
Yeah, you need to be it, not say it. Yeah.
Everything I do is from me and my heart with love. It's like love is like one of the highest vibrations. And if you stay in that vibration, woohoo, look out.
I love that. So you talk about your calendar, and that gives me an amazing bridge to ask you, who works with you, who looks out for some help from you or guidance, and how can people reach you if they feel just really called to reach out to you? So what kind of people do you work with?
99% are women. I have a couple male clients, but most of them are women. Typically be in middle life or facing a crossroad or a transition or feeling stuck, like things aren't working, or they've been in pain for a long time and they're not really getting out of the pain or feeling any more comfort, or they've had a spouse or a parent or someone pass away in their life and they would like a connection to that person. So it's on many different reasons and levels. And typically a session starts out, it could be with a clairvoyant message, but then it's like, oh, wait, I feel something stuck in your chest. Let's get that out. So I do energy work. I do kind of a combination of all the healing that I know in a session. And people, sometimes they just need one and done, and they go, I'm so much lighter. Thank you. But they usually come back. And I have some clients that I see every week or every other week or a couple times a month. I have some coaching clients who felt very stuck in their life and really wanted to know, okay, I'm here and I want to get over here. How do I do that? And so we work more long term on those kinds of things. I have a website, carolwalkner.com, and it tells all about me and everything that I do. My email, the best email to reach me is carolwalkner888@gmail.com. And I offer a 20-minute complimentary discovery call for people who want to find out who am I really and want to chat with me, or let me know what's going on with you and I can let you know if I can really help. And if I can't, I'll say, you know what, it's not in my wheelhouse, and I'll have some other suggestions for them to go. But I would say 99% of the time, I'll have a discovery call and I get a new client, because there's always something that can be done.
Sounds like you are an activator, you are a catalyst, you are a guide, and so much more on this intuitive, creative, energetic basis. And I can highly recommend reaching out to you because it is So every time we connect, I celebrate this connection because there is always something in this conversation that is just filling my heart with light. And so I am so happy that I had this conversation and the opportunity to have this conversation with you today, and that many people have the opportunity to watch our conversation or to listen to Magnificence. And I already asked you about this golden nugget. So is there anything that you would love to share with anyone who is watching this show?
So make sure that your to-be list is longer than your to-do list. And when you're stressed and anxious and not breathing, because when we're very stressed, we don't breathe. So I blow bubbles, because when you blow bubbles, you have to breathe in to blow out. It changes everything. And then you smile. And bubbles are the number one stress reliever. So if you see me in person, you get a bottle. If it's good, you go buy some. And may I tell one more story?
Sure, go ahead.
So one of my clients, she has 15, there's 15 people in her family, brothers, sisters, children, whatever. And they're all pretty dysfunctional. Most of them are narcissists. They're just not very nice people. And she was having them all for Thanksgiving dinner 2 years ago. And she was in a panic. She would see me like a couple times a week before that, because she was like, so I said, here's what you do. You buy 15 bottles of bubbles. You set a bottle by each other's place. And when Uncle Harry starts ranting, blow bubbles. When Aunt Matilda starts on her rant, you blow bubbles. She said it was the best holiday dinner they've ever had in their whole family life. And I love the bubbles. And nobody got angry. Nobody got, overdrunk. Nobody did anything out of the happiness of the holiday.
Wow. That is fascinating. And that is just what this small bottle of bubbles can do. It's really a great reminder to breathe. And for those who are not into the spiritual breathing stuff, they don't even need to know, and it makes a difference. So, number 1, buy a bottle of bubbles. Number 2, reach out to Carol Walkner and have a conversation with her. And number 3, connect with me either on the show Magnificence, the one and only empowerment podcast that strikes a match and shines a light on the magnificence of my guests, and of course on your magnificence. And just let's stay connected. I thank you for listening or watching to the show, and I say goodbye for now.
And Patricia, you are magnificent. You are a light in the world. I adore you.
Thank you.
Thank you for joining us for this empowering episode. To continue this journey of aligning with your true purpose and uncovering your magnificence, schedule an illumination call with Patricia at patricialindner.com. Please share this episode with someone who needs it, and subscribe to the show on YouTube and your favorite podcasting platform. Join us again soon for another episode of Magnificence.